Hey everybody, what's up? It's Saturday again. Chill, great day here in New York. A little bit rainy. Not a bad day to be inside and making some moody techno or something. Got a guest today, as you might have noticed from the title of the video. Happy to have Noah Pred back. Bring him on in a few moments. Who's in the chat? Who was first? Stereo Decor. Hello, techno people. Our good pal Angel Alanis. Nice to have you hanging out. We got to talk about that remix thing, right? Marco Freudenberg, speaking of remixes, one of the winners of the Auto Freak Remix Challenge. It's in process. It's happening. It's been mastered. It sounds great. There's a release date. Boys, what's up? Itzy, happy King's Day there in the Netherlands, or however you say it. That was terrible. I'm never going to try that accent again. That was awful. I'm sorry. I can do better. That was just bad. Jan Kalinowski, what's up? Alessandro Braz is here. Skirmantis is here. I'm here apparently. I'm just reading my own name in the chat. Low Res. Bug Tank, hey. That's right. Good crew to get going with today. And we are going to have some nerdy manifest audio fun with our guest. That music, once the 303 comes up in this track, it starts getting more intense. I start not paying attention to whatever else is going on around me. It's like, I never want to stop this track, but I have to. We got to bring it in. What's up, everybody? John Selway here, Selway Techno Saturdays. Got my headphones on. That means I have a remote guest, so we don't get the echoing happening. And yeah, excited to be here after, I don't know, it's been every couple of weeks lately. I feel like that might be the pattern now. That might be, twice a month and then occasionally extra, depending. I think I've been talking about that. So yeah, things have been going good here in New York, here at 343 Labs. You know what we do, music production, education, Ableton Live, Logic, mixing and mastering, live performance, our 1-year program, all of that stuff. If you want to know more about that, of course, the links are below if you want to click around and read stuff on our website about what we're doing and all the upcoming events we have. We've got some cool stuff coming up, actually. Let me bring that up so I'm ready to show you what the events are. Yeah, where is this? I moved all of my stuff around here. What's going on here at 343 Labs? We had Chop Shop. We had Hannes Bieger here this week. We had 2 events this week. Hannes was going on about the perfect bass drum. But of course, there is no perfect bass drum. And, you know, that's what that was all about, getting into how you make the kick a good bass drum for your music. And we've got Hover coming up, which is a workshop on making bangers. That's a new artist to me, Hover. I'm not even sure what they do, to be honest. But from laptop to dance floor, which is kind of what a lot of us do nowadays, right? We're in this musical world on our computer, and then hopefully it gets translated into a party scenario, if that's the kind of music you're making. We've got master classes coming up, and this one I'm really psyched about. We've got Carrie. She is an Irish DJ and artist, and she's going to do a master class in May 21st, and we're going to live stream it as well. And I'm going to be hanging out and seeing how she works and asking questions, and I'm really looking forward to that for sure. This is as far as Techno Saturdays go, this is totally in our wheelhouse, right? So definitely keep an eye out for this in May. It is going to be a ticketed event. It will be inexpensive. So, we'll have that information. There's probably a link here. If you go to this on our website, you can find out if you want to buy a ticket to join us in person or watch it online. All the info is there. And so, yeah, we've got all sorts of things going on at 343 Labs. But today, as I mentioned, we have a guest who's been here before, and he's, an associate of 343 Labs. He's taught for us, and he's done work for us, and he's helped us out with our synthesis curriculum and all of that. So let's go ahead and bring in the one, the only Noah Pred, as I just mess it up and do the wrong scene in OBS. What's up, Noah?
It's always good to see you, John. Yeah. Everything good on this side. Excited to get into, some relaxing Saturday techno with everybody. What better way to spend a Saturday than with some relaxing, distorted 909 kick drums.
If you're not making really hard, banging, distorted techno, come on. You're a pretty musical, chill artist in general, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes with the times. These days, I'm feeling a little agitated. I'm feeling, like I'm compelled to put roar on more or less everything, especially my 909 drum kits. But no, you're right. I'm not a gabber producer or
you're not a hard techno guy.
I do not really reside in the hardcore continuum for the most part. No claim to that, but yeah, I got a little something prepared. I've been grinding away, developing all these devices for Manifest Audio, my company, which I've shown off on your stream here before.
That's right. We love it when Professor Noah comes on and gets deep with these crazy devices that you design.
I've been known to get a little nerdy with it from time to time. And today I thought what might be interesting for some of the 343 folks would be to look at some of the MIDI tools I've created. Like these are a new feature in Live 12. Probably most are familiar, at least with the ones that come bundled with Live 12, which are already awesome. But I've created a bunch of Max for Live ones that are great for generating new musical ideas. So I thought that could be an interesting focus because I haven't really been showing them off as much lately. But I also want to get into some free distortion effects. I made some free modulators and how we can work all these together. But I've been having a lot of fun with Live 12 and especially 12.2. I'm actually running 12.2 here. Have you, maybe some other viewers are on the beta. Have you gotten on there yet, John?
A little bit. I have it installed.
Yeah.
And I've taken a quick look at it. And yeah, definitely some nice new things happening.
Yeah, just like a little bit of the redesign, even with the roar and all the, hide and show. I think it's the same visualizer toggle with the meld. And there's a few new features with the roar and the auto filter, of course, with some awesome new filtration modes, including the DJ filter. But prior to Live 12.2 even, I've discovered a really fun way to develop really lively animated drum patterns from a 1-bar loop. And I thought we could just start there because we probably need some 909 drums, right? So I'm going to just draw this one kick and make sure it's full velocity.
Well, before, I haven't gotten over to your screen share yet, but I just want to, I hadn't switched over to the scene yet, but so everybody here can see I'm sharing Noah's beautiful website, the Manifest Audio website. I love all these graphics. They look kind of like paintings. Like they're really interesting. What, you have an artist, or do you do that?
I do it with a bunch of different glitch, visual glitch stuff. It's a lot of pixel sorting algorithms and that kind of thing.
Is there like video generation Max for Live devices in our future, Noah?
There are, yeah.
I was wondering because this looks like if you're doing that, it's a easy dot connecting. It's not far to imagine that you might incorporate that at some point.
Yeah, I've got a few little ideas I'm tinkering with on the roadmap, especially given one of the MIDI tools that we might get into today, the one I just released this week. Lets you drop photos into the MIDI tools and turn it into MIDI. You can turn images into MIDI clips, so that can be fun. Can be a fun thing to look at.
I was looking for it here. Where is it on the website?
So that would be accessible through the sonification page.
Sonification bundle? There's a whole sonification. There it is.
There it is. Photo mat at the bottom of the sonification page. You can also get it through the individual MIDI tools page.
I see it. This is cool.
A few different places there, but
and a lot of your devices are very reasonably priced. I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's the bundles that I think provide a lot of value, but if you want to just do it piecemeal with the individual stuff, I try to keep the individual elements single digits, keep it accessible.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, this is great. All right. So, and also one last point of order before we dive into your presentation is you were going to give me a code to share.
Yep.
I need you to send it to me again, if you don't mind just popping it in our private chat, not in the YouTube chat, and then I'll make sure that I get that posted on here. Actually, you know what? Did you email it to me?
I did email it to you, but here it is again.
Do it again, but I just, as I said that to you, thought of a way I can do it without that. So never mind. Without further ado, let's get into what you're working on today.
I mean, I love that you're on top of that stuff because I continually neglect to share these things. And then after the fact, I'm like, why didn't I tell anybody, like my website, for example, which you already dutifully put on the screen? And I'm sorry, I thought my screen was already being shared and I was like diving into drum patterns. But yeah, so let's just get into it.
Nice.
So my screen is now visible, yes?
Yes, indeed.
Cool.
Let's double check and make sure the audio is working.
Okay.
Everybody let us know if that sounds okay to you.
Little bit of cowbell for everybody's fever.
I'm feeling it. More cowbell, please.
Okay. So here's my little recipe for these dynamic and lively techno or any kind of drum pattern, really. So there's my kicks, and then I'm just going to option drag that up to my open hats, on the upbeat. And then I'm going to slide these over again, holding the option down. And I want these to be a bit lower in velocity, and then option drag those lower velocity ones over to there. I think that's probably good. Actually, You know what? I'm gonna command drag the deviation down on those and swap those out on the first ones. Okay, so then here's the new feature in Live 12 that's really interesting. So what I'm gonna do is take a clap. We'll give it a nice loud velocity, maximum velocity. And this will get interesting in a moment. Just bear with me. Let's give it some range there. And let's say there's like a 69% chance it'll happen. Sure, that's where the mouse landed. I'll take it. Now I'm going to option drag that to the snare and the rim.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to say...
So wait, you just copied that range of variation from one MIDI note to another?
Well, once a note has the velocity deviation and chance properties set, if you copy that note, those will be copied with it.
Okay, yeah. That's great.
But so...
was that already a thing? Did I not just realize that?
I think you probably already knew it, but you're re-knowing it.
There it is.
Maybe
that's very generous of you.
Exactly. But so the cool thing that I'm really harnessing here as of Live 12 is this group notes play one option.
All right.
So now every time through, now it's grouped. I have to reset 70%. 72%. So there's a 72% chance one of those will play.
Nice.
And it'll never play more than one of them. And there are a lot of ways you can use this melodically and whatnot. But now, to get this really dynamic and rolling, I'm just going to select that space before it, the rest, and just duplicate that out. And now I'm going to have this really dynamic, syncopated rhythm. We don't know if it's going to be a snare or a rim or a clap. And they're not always going to happen. Let's hear it.
You're going to love it. Sorry, we're listening to it, but your video's glitching again. Don't worry about it. I think it's appropriate.
Okay.
It's like Noah's glitched version, but the audio should still be good. Everybody out there, let us know how it sounds. That's the most important thing. That sounds really good, Noah. I like what you're doing with that distortion.
Yeah, just a little light touch of roar, and So now, if you can all hear what's going on with the clap, the snare, the occasional rim, and then I think I need to maybe just finesse the levels of these a little bit. Clap is kind of... I want the rim to be a little more noticeable.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But yeah, so that's a really fun way to, like I said, one bar pattern, but it's not really repeating the same way as it rolls through. It might be interesting though. Let's say just the end of the bar. Let's have one that might happen on an eighth note. Okay. So let's get into some other elements here. And I've got this like a Latin percussion kit with some other roar thing going on. And we don't need to get pummeled while we do this next bit.
I'm into it, though.
Yeah. I mean, it is relaxing to get pummeled on a Saturday. That's what we're all here for, isn't it? So this is a little MIDI tool I developed called Hexaline. And it's based on this idea of linear drumming, if anybody knows what that is. But so basically... like a drummer only plays, it's like as if a drummer only played with one drumstick, right? So only one note can sound at a time. You can use this melodically, but yeah, it also works for drums. So I do need to just adjust the notes. So each of these sort of lines, of these 6 note lines, you set the pitch, the velocity, the note length relative to the grid, and the chance of each note. And it gets pretty interesting pretty quickly. But yeah, we got to, first of all, I'm just going to drop these all down an octave. That should get me somewhere closer to where all the good stuff is. And then that previous one is one I created this way, and it had that cowbell A. So now you can see in the pattern, it's randomly generated. This pattern in which none of these percussions are overlapping one another. And so let's just solo that, and it's going to... Okay, yeah, it's kind of dynamic and interesting. It'll get even more dynamic if I add some deviation amount. Mm-hmm. We're all deviant techno producers anyway, so we might as well add a little deviation on there. And then we can make it all a little bit more staccato, just adjusting the note length. Okay, that's cool. That's kind of working for me. Yeah, let's take a listen with our pummeling here. It would help if I unsoloed it. Okay. That's something. However, I note that Cabasa Short is not on the cowbell. Okay, and so then I think those would benefit from a little reduced playback chance, and you might be hearing some glitchy artifacts on the cowbell, and that's from the roar that I grabbed on there, which has some synced feedback and some modulation and drive and all that good stuff. But yeah, so let's try creating another one of these, but let's make it a longer loop, like 2 bars.
All right.
And actually, yeah, sometimes the MIDI tools don't remember the settings you previously had, so I just have to drop those back down another octave. And let's see.
While you're figuring that out, I'm just going to let everybody know and let you know. You still hear me, right?
Oh, yeah.
My OBS decided to completely freak out. You are still going. We're hearing the music as far as I know. The stream is still going. We can see you. We cannot see me. And let me ask everybody who's watching, can you even hear what I'm saying right now? Let me know in the chat that you can hear me talking. And Noah, you just keep going as if nothing was wrong.
Can you still see my screen?
Yeah, the screen and the audio and
okay.
you are there. It's for some reason my OBS has decided to just, I don't know what's going on. It's kind of crazy.
Oh boy.
I'm hoping we don't have to stop and start again, but just keep going.
Okay.
Do not stop the techno.
So another cool thing we can do with the hex line, and now in this case it remembered the note values, so that's helpful, is the default mode is luck. We can also choose this fluid randomization algorithm, because you might have noticed those previous percussion patterns were randomly generated from the note choices that were available.
I love doing stuff like that.
But we can also set it to play forward or backward. And what's nice about that is that this third note doesn't have to be a lower note. It can be a higher note, but they will simply play in that order. And then we can also tell it how long to hold the final step for. So you can create these weird, funky little grooves like that.
I like that. What would this sound like with some roar on it?
Well, it does have some roar, in fact, and that's where the feedback and whatnot is coming from.
Yeah. I hear it.
Give it some more drive.
I like.
Nice. And yeah, so now I go back to the clip and the notes are reset again. There's some funny inconsistencies with MIDI tools remembering their current settings, but there's one last thing I want to show with how the Hexaline works before we get into some of the other tools, and maybe it'd be useful to do so using it in a melodic context. Yeah, let's do that. So I've got the synth bass over here.
Yeah.
And there's a few unreleased MIDI tools there, so just pay no mind to that. But yeah, let's do the backwards mode, and let's make sure it's scale aware, because we're not doing percussion in this case.
Nice.
And so let's go and take this note. And we can just play around with, so like currently it's playing in this reverse order, so it's counting up from the bottom. But again, with flexibility with where these notes are, and I'm using this harmonic minor in the key of D today for some reason.
It's a good as scale as any for some Techno.
And you know, cowbells. I think my fever is cured. I'm just gonna mute those for a moment. And this, okay, so yeah, let's regenerate this because I want them all selected where I show like the default mode. If I mute one of these lanes, is the notes are removed and everything else stays where it is. That's using this default rest mode. But if I toggle to the fill mode, what it does is it says, okay, now we're ignoring the existence of this note line and creating a new pattern based on it not even being there, which when you do the counting modes like this, you can really see in a more reliable way how that impacts it. Like it makes the pattern longer by inserting the note back in and pushing the other notes back. And actually, here's a fun trick. Some of you may already be well aware of this, but you know, you can't really control the MIDI tools in real time, but what you can do is set up a little MIDI recording from the track generating those tools, and in such a way we can sort of capture this activity. So I'm going to go back here. Okay, good. It remembered in this case what was going on. We'll start recording. And let's add some of those. Okay, and I think what I really just wanted there was the toggle between the two modes, but I started messing around some more just to kind of demonstrate that while we can't, you know, map a MIDI controller directly to the MIDI tools, unfortunately, we can still capture the results of playing around with it in such a way.
Yeah.
Which I think is
I
useful.
guess right there is a reason, like, you know, someone might ask, with Live having all these powerful MIDI processing things built into the clip, but you can't automate them or modulate them.
Right.
That's a reason why you would, you know, still go to these individual Max for Live devices, which you can map anything you want to.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, like I have a bunch of generative sequencers and stuff, one of which we showed off in one of our sessions together, I think some years ago now even. And I still use that tool a lot because what it does is generative, responsive, in the moment, transposable, randomizable on the fly in a performative way for like a live performance and things like that. And these MIDI tools are generally more relegated to sort of the compositional medium of the MIDI clip
Yeah.
zone and way of thinking, which is still really powerful, but it kind of implies that you are producing in such a way,
Sure.
and maybe doesn't lend itself to those more real-time experiments. But this is kind of a workaround to allow you to like kind of get an approximation of that with them, or just like at least make use of some of those features in a way that is hard to replicate directly in the clip itself. So it's kind of a best of both worlds sort of thing, although I would not recommend doing this in a live performance because again, these aren't mappable and all that. But I've captured that little instance of me.
Well, yeah, you can still real-time re-record or record the stuff you're doing, right?
Exactly. So this, I'm not loving this bass sound. It needs to calm down a little bit, if I'm being honest.
No, you look like Max Headroom, but I just want you to know.
I love that.
You just need the animated background and then the crazy video behind you.
Okay, yeah, get a little dialed back on the frequency envelope. Okay, cool. Let's look at some other MIDI tool stuff maybe. So another really fun tool that I use quite often is this converser that I made. So basically you've got two parallel note paths. You can specify which note here. These are like advanced count controls and stuff you maybe don't need to worry about. But basically, let's see, we're in that D key. So I'm going to set the bottom one to D and the top one to A sharp 2. Why not? And now this dial defines which side is more probable than the other. So you create these call and response things. So the hexaline actually sort of came out of making the converser and then being like, oh, well, what if there was like 6 of those at once? But it kind of makes a little more sense musically to have a more controlled call and response. And so now we've got these two notes. And again, this works great for percussion as well. Each lane gets velocity and length and all these other controls, right? And there's a Euclidean mode that we don't need to bother with today. We'll just use the good old probability. And let's just take a listen to this. Want a different note. Well, actually, this reminds me of
definitely serviceable techno patterns being created with this thing.
Yeah, I think I'm still not quite there with this one. And so what happens with these tools, right, just a little to shine a light under the hood a little bit, is that each one of them gets a random seed, a specific random seed when you first instantiate it, so that as you adjust the weight forward and backward, it doesn't continuously randomize new patterns each time. It's randomizing according to that initial random seed it's received. But if you don't love the way it's distributing the notes, you can click generate, and what that does is it gives it a new seed. And so you're going to get like rather different expressions, so to say. And this one looks just visually seems a little more dynamic to me than what that first seed was giving us. Okay, and so, the name of the game with all these generative tools is, you don't have to rely on them 100%. Maybe they get you 90% of the way, and it's your job to bring it across the finish line, which in my case is bumping that back and just deleting that note.
Yeah.
I feel like we've heard this before, but let's just go with it.
Depends on the sound, I think. Like that pattern might be perfectly good on a more exciting sound.
And I'll play with the filter a bit more. But so now that I've got this basic sort of framework of a pattern, what I like to do, here's a fun trick, is I'll duplicate it at least 4 times. And then I like to leave the bottom note of the call and response where it is. And why is that on a D? I think it should be on a D. Funny. I've noticed some of the scaling stuff bumping things up when it shouldn't be. It's still in the scaling key. It's just a note higher than I'm expecting for some reason. At any rate, what I like to do, leaving those in place where they are, is then take some of these higher notes of the call and response and transpose them around a little bit.
That's a good idea.
Right? And so then we get a longer phrase that's still kind of working with the same pattern, but it's, got a little more, a little bit more of a narrative to it.
So I have a question from Itzy. How do you build these MIDI tools? And I know that's a whole long conversation in presentation in itself, but summarize.
All of these tools are built using Max for Live. And if you want to see what's going on under the hood, you can click this button here and you'll see all the objects that are patched together in a visual node-based programming environment called Max MSP. And in fact, it's actually just Max. There's no signal processing in the MIDI tools, but that's a little bit more of a technical detail. But it's...
So you need to know about Max for Live, Max programming first before you think about wanting to do something like this integrated inside of Live.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a good way to learn Max is with a goal of creating a specific MIDI tool, but there's a lot of great learning resources out there if you do want to dive into the wild and wonderful world of Max. But it is it is supportive of music making, but it is
not
obviously it's not music making. But a lot of the concepts do translate, and it's not totally unintuitive, but it's a different discipline, so to say. So like listening to the contour of this transposition, it's sounding pretty corny, and I don't like it. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a different one here.
I gotta say, OBS is continuing to have a fit, making you and the stream look like Max Headroom, but it's still going and it's not crashing, which is crazy. So we're just gonna keep going. And my camera again is not working. So
are you for real?
It's just you and my voice. They can hear me, they can hear you, they can hear the audio. The video is it's just completely flown the coop. I don't know but I'm not gonna stop. We're just gonna keep going. And make the best of it.
The screen is showing up okay? People can see it?
It's a little jittery, but they can see what you're doing. It's I'll be honest, it's probably a little bit challenging, but we're going to just go with it because we're techno. The beat is not going to stop.
Interesting. Okay, so that's like an example of what one could do. It's not an example of what one should do.
Okay.
But it's kind of the idea I'm playing around with here.
I like it.
I just duplicated the...
What would this sound like if you took away the extra percussion and it was just the 909 and the synth bass? I'm just curious to see how that would work. Just mute the percussion track. I think that's a little better because I think it was whatever's going on melodically with pattern generation and your bass line was kind of maybe a little messy with the congas,
Agreed. Yeah. And I'm just going to reduce the play chance of all those really busy low notes. Okay. Let's get into a different instrument here. Oh yeah, I created these nice pads. So here's another trick many of you probably know, but if not, if you want to create an endless pad, you just create a loop brace that starts after the start flag and ends before the notes end. And then you just get infinite pad, even though you can see it's only a half bar. Anyway, let's get these pads going. Just a wavetable with some slight modulation on the oscillator. Kind of a low frequency thing I'll open up in a moment. Crucially, some motion on the oscillator position and warp, and a tiny little bit on the pitch to make it just ever so unsettling. You don't want it fixed in place. And then here's this X control, which is a free modulator. It's included if you go to the website. And you go to the free tools page, you'll see the Mod Squad Pro, and this is in there. And I wanted to create a macro dial that I could map to parameters on the track. So I've got it mapped to the filter frequency. You can also map it to parameters not on the track, such as the delay send there. So as I adjust that control, it's opening the frequency and simultaneously sending to the dub delay.
I like that.
And it can send to 6 other targets too. This is also a free little distortion device you'll see on the free tools page as well there, called Errata. Add some error.
That's some cool texture happening right there.
Thank you. Maybe
everybody in the chat is talking about how the jittery, crazy, glitchy videos and the music is kind of working.
Nice. Nice. Hell yeah. I love that. I'm just going to rename this capture. And it's kind of perplexing.
I know no one can see me, but I'm dancing over here in my
colors.
chair. Just
Hey, love that. So let's go ahead. I've got this little collision track set up. I'm not so confident how it's going to sound. Let's make some chords. So I created this Metaflux because, you know, there's the seed random note generator that comes with the live tools, but when it's polyphonic, there's no rhyme or reason to the polyphony. Like, you'll get 2 notes happening at the same time that are different lengths and different velocities. So I wanted to create something that if I increase the polyphony, which I can do here, then when multiple notes happen at the same time, you'll see they're the same length and the same velocity, much like when a human plays chords with their fingers. So I'm going to boost the range up. This is the minimum maximum pitch range. Get it down to those 2 octaves there, and then reduce the density a bit. Looks kind of busy to me, so yeah. 4 bars might be a little long, but let's see what's in here.
Ooh, cool.
So there's some wave shaping distortion on there that might be just a little bit. It's too low is what I'm sensing. Weird chords. So, you know, this is one way to do it, but another tool I have that's maybe a little more intuitive to explore the possibility space, as one might call it, is this navigator. So you have an XY pad.
All right.
Where velocity and pitch are mapped to the vertical dimension, and length and density are mapped to the horizontal. So as I go to the right, it'll become more busy and more variance in length. And as I go up, we'll get more and more pitches going up from whatever the minimum pitch range is set here up to the maximum pitch range there. And so then we can just sort of explore this space of how busy do we want it, and how many notes above the minimum do we want to go. And it's worth mentioning that I find this tool lends itself better to like longer phrases. So that might be
interesting,
because you just get more time.
Sure.
Get higher up there.
Starting to tell a bit more of a story now.
Exactly. Still really quiet somehow.
Yeah, turn that up. Starting to have a conversation now.
Yes. I don't know.
It's kind of like, it's like a techno bell / banjo going on here.
Totally. Shades of the Grid. If anybody knows what I'm talking
I know
about.
what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I think it needs to go up even higher. And so anyway, this one has a polyphony as well, so I can add 2 or 3 voices, and now it's going to do
Is it going to start doing some
chords.
crazy intricate voice leading or something?
I'm not sure I know what that means, but so maybe.
Yes, you do. Like when chord progressions, when the chord notes go between each chord in a logical kind of melodic way, like so it's not just chord, but like the voices inside of the chords are melodies into themselves.
They modulate from one to the next in a
melodic way.
Yeah. It's pretty random, the algorithm underneath this, so
but
that's
what I'm saying. When you do that, if you randomize harmony, you get accidental voice leading. I think.
Oh, okay.
Happens. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I can see like here we have this note, and then it's modulating down 1 scale degree below it for the subsequent 2 chords, while that one goes up and back down. So yeah, I think maybe it is. It must be. You'd never know with all this saturator on there.
Yeah, the distortion and the high frequencies are kind of like making it harder to hear the notes, but it sounds very techno, so who cares?
And so you might be alarmed that I'm sending that much to my reverb, but
You're scaring me, Noah.
as some
All this
people
noise
may
and
know,
reverb, I can't take it.
I like to I keep my reverb quote unquote safe, so to say, from bass and other sounds by putting that steep high pass before the wet reverb is
you don't
even
want
reached.
Muddy, low frequency reverb covering up your bass.
No, but you know.
I love how like everybody's. I have to say we're getting great comments in the chat. People are enjoying it, and yet I feel like we're glitching into the matrix because of OBS almost crashing. This is insane.
It's adding a little extra thrill to my Saturday. So
exactly.
you know, I thought we were gonna have a relaxing techno time, but it's actually a glitch.
I'm living in fear that OBS is just gonna stop working any second. Knock on wood.
Boy. Well, let's see what we can do using Photomat with the Navigator, because I did mention it. So this is the new MIDI tool in which you can simply drag. Let's grab some of these NASA images because we're going so techno here. Martian geysers. Tarantula Nebula? There we go. So what's actually going on here? Maybe I should try to explain this a little bit. I'm sure there'll be questions.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's some very... the Metaphase just asked, is this MFA Navigator a plugin or a native to Ableton? And it's not exactly a plugin, but it's something you designed in Max that can be added to work inside of Ableton's MIDI generator, right?
Yeah, exactly. So any of the MIDI tools I've developed, which you can get from the website that you linked earlier, manifest.audio.
Yeah, I put I pinned a message in the chat with the code and the link.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you end up grabbing Navigator or any of them, they come with installation instructions. Basically, you just put it in your user library. Takes live about 60 seconds to see them, and then they just show up in this menu when you're in the MIDI tool, as long as you have Live 12, obviously, and then they just show up here and you access them like that. So it's kind of a MIDI plugin in a way, but it's not like a, I've had people try to drag and drop the MIDI tools onto tracks like other Max for Live devices, and they don't work that way. You'll get a warning if you try to do that. So you have to put it where Live can find it, and then it just shows up in the menu like magic. So any other questions before I get into what's going on with our deep space image here?
No, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So basically, an image is multi-dimensional, so to say. There's 3 color channels, and
another quick question: do these work in Push 3?
Push 3 standalone lamentably does not support MIDI tools of any kind, including Live Zone native ones.
Okay, so it would have to be like a standalone Max the device that is compatible if it was going to work, right? like a plug-in version.
Yeah, like I've taken great pains to ensure that all of our Max devices, like actual devices, not MIDI tools, do work on Push 3 standalone. But MIDI tools as a class of objects do not exist on Push 3 and can't run on Push 3 yet. But hopefully they will be added down the line. I don't know where that is on the Ableton Push 3 development roadmap, but currently even the native live ones don't run on it. So it's just unfortunately a no-go. But yeah, in less disappointing news, yeah, so we've got pixels here, and all the pixels have different color values, which correspond to brightness and whatnot, and they're arranged across the X and Y dimensions. And so the MIDI notes, we need to basically flatten this information. So the default way of doing that with Photomat is we go along the X-axis, so we take average pixel values from each column at this resolution. At 25%, that's giving us 102 notes. That's why we're seeing all these extra notes that extend into bar 7. If I reduce the resolution, you'll see the image resolution goes down, and then we get a shorter pattern. And I find this is often helpful for creating more musically useful
lower resolution
gestures from because if you get a high resolution image and then
it's
you have
all over the place,
then you have 2,000 notes, like that's cool and everything, but the human brain isn't going to register a sequence of 2,000 notes as musical if it doesn't repeat ever in some way for 2,000 notes. It's just,
I suppose you could generate a long pattern and then mine that for phrases. Like you could go through and say, oh, that's cool.
This is exactly the way. But another way to do that I think is maybe a little more fun is what we can do is I'll up the resolution and zoom into the image. Let's just do 3 times zoom. And now I can click and drag around in the image and you'll see the notes are changing.
That's cool.
And I can actually reduce it down in resolution to where perfect. Now I'm gonna have a 16 bar or 16 note phrase wherever I go. Hey, so then it's really interesting boosting the contrast, right? They get 0 contrast, all the notes get flattened, and then we can sort of widen out that expression range, play with the saturation, the different hue levels, right? Let's hear it. Okay.
Legit.
So we can do a few other things here. So we're in the image editing mode. If I increase the brightness, all the values will go up. If I reduce it, they'll go down, right?
You turn up that track a little bit.
Let's get our
there you go.
drive going. But then also we have our note mode. So this defines the range in which the brightness of the pixels will be expressed as pitches, and these can be inverted. So now it would be the lowest pixel values will be the higher note. And you can do this similarly with the velocity, note length, the rate, and the chance. We can also gate notes that are below the 50% value or inversely gate values above it. And we can, of course, adjust where that gate threshold is.
Yeah.
And then we can still do the zooming and panning around while we're in this mode. Sounds like a little 90s prog anthem.
Yeah. It's catchy.
Nice. And then, let's explore some of the other options here. So if I go back into the image mode, we can also just isolate the different color channels, RGB. And then we have a polyphonic mode in which the red, green, and blue pixel values of each average column will be expressed as an individual note simultaneously. And as is often the case, some of those values can be kind of close together. So I've created a spread to pull the R and B values apart from each other.
Whoa.
Let me just go back.
That looks cool, if anything.
Just disable the gate.
Like watching those MIDI notes spread around, I'm like,
oh yeah. So there we've got a further distribution, and it's all staying in the D harmonic minor, right? Or whatever scaling key you select.
I feel like you need a different sound to demonstrate the harmony. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very much so, especially with all the dang reverb and saturation.
Wait, can you quickly try it on just like something like a pure sine wave, just so we can? It's going to end up sounding like old Jeff Mills or something, probably. But
do that. So what I want to do here is just group these to a rack, so I can save it for later and mute that chain, and then go ahead and drop an operator on the same chain, which is receiving the same MIDI.
Cool.
Where, you might want to make sure higher notes are available.
Got it.
And then also, maybe we want it to be 3/16 notes.
Oh, put that on the beat. That sounds great. But just that first part, that first bar of it. Or whatever.
Yeah. And these could each be a different section. Nah, maybe not that one.
Whatever it is, there's a lot of cool possibilities with this, for sure.
And then the last cool possibility we haven't gotten into is kind of similar in a way.
I said Jeff Mills before. Rob Hood, actually, this kind of minimal thing happening.
I'll take it either way. Yeah.
Is this working in Live 11? No, right? These ones that work inside the clips only in 12, right?
MIDI tools are strictly a Live 12 feature. They only exist in Live 12, unfortunately.
But for those of you still on Live 11, there are Max for Live devices doing similar things that you have created that will work.
Yes, I have I think the latest version of Data MIDI should work in Live 11. It's not fully tested in Live 11, but it does this in real time, and there's no reason it shouldn't work in Live 11.
Do you have any older versions of your devices that are optimized for Live 11? And I don't know if they're available anymore, but
most of them, yeah. It's only the very latest development I've done that's more focused on Live 12. So on the website, it should say what versions are required, and most of them were designed in Live 11 and tested in Live 11. So shouldn't be issues there, but yeah.
Aaron Hedges is giving you a shout out.
Aaron?
Yeah.
What's up, Aaron?
Aaron, it's Noah Headroom today. We're glitching.
So
OBS is freaking out. Still.
This last mode, glitch welcome, is the luminance mode. So it forces all the pixel values to minimum and maximum. Total bright, total dark, right? So it's this luminance mode. And then you can set a threshold to where that luminance is detected. And now, essentially, it turns into an image-based call and response based on the lowest values corresponding to this note and the highest values corresponding to this note. But we need to find a more interesting section of the image. There we go. There's something that was, I don't want to just low and then high. That's sad. There we go. That's a little more interesting. Let's try this. Okay, so a pattern of that nature, one shouldn't require all these fancy tools to arrive at it. But, these are all created from this desire on my part to escape my own predictable musical habits and arrive at musical ideas I wouldn't have accessed otherwise. And In this case, doing so with a little NASA space imagery.
Cool.
And we only scratch the surface on these MIDI tools, but
Sure.
with
What can you do in an hour, man?
what can you do in an hour?
We were talking earlier about whether we were going to go longer today. I think based on the fact that my OBS could crash any second, no. We're going to wrap this up on time.
let's just be thankful we got this far. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, one last thing I want to try and show is one of the other free modulators. I have this control mapped to the pad cutoff and dub delay simultaneously, which is cool, but I'm a busy guy. I'm dealing with all these MIDI tools. I can't be twisting that control dial all the time. So I'm just going to go into my my free MIDI tools, and it's called Auto Dubber. How about that? Well, and I'll just delete that X control, and I'll just go ahead and map this to the frequency. You know what? I messed up. I want to see how I had the map. So it's positive only to 33%. Okay, that's important. I'm going to just cheat off that first one. Unipolar, 33%. And
only going in one direction.
Only one direction. Not to be confused with, I think there's a band goes by that name. Also, okay, so there we go. Now we can get rid of the X control. And what it's going to do is, at a rate of quarter notes, 50% of every quarter note, 50% chance, every quarter note, it will do that. Okay, and so that's way too often. So I can say 50% of every fourth quarter note. Let's do every third quarter note and say like 23% chance every third quarter note. And let's smooth it. It was a little bit harsh.
Okay. So it's automating doing throws to your returns with the send, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're turning the volume up and down on the send.
Exactly. And
eventually it's going to do it. You never know. There it goes. Surprise, delay.
So we could finesse the trigger time and the rate and everything, but this is a nice hands-free option. And, we can also then go ahead and grab an LFO and then map that to the depth so that it's not always going all the way up to maximum. Maybe it's going only up to 50% sometimes.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. These are all... So if you go to the website and go to the free tools, grab the free modulators, grab the errata for that glitchy sort of texture on there. Max headroom not included.
No, I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. I've been this whole time trying to figure out how can I add myself to the video. Like my camera is like totally just gone. And this is pretty crazy. Usually there's a way that I can mix my video in with yours through this Video Ninja thing, but everything is just totally off the rails today in terms of the video production. But thankfully, the audio carried through. So there's something sort of appropriate about Noah being max headroom and glitching, making this crazy music with your amazing tools. So that still works, aesthetically. It's fine.
It's been completely smooth on my side. I'd be none the wiser. I apologize for any issues anyone's experienced. And, I periodically do these streams, and my internet always, has a habit of crapping out for about 60 seconds. And
this time it wasn't you, it was reliably.
Me. This time it didn't happen. I don't know
where
the gremlins came from. A little Saturday techno gremlin action, but what are you going to do?
Exactly. So anyway, I just want to say thanks. I'm good. You're gonna have to do the sign off. I mean, you're the face that everybody's gonna wave goodbye to because I can't do my regular switching because OBS is still stuck in whatever it's doing. So yeah, thanks once again, Noah, for doing this. It was great to check out what you've got going on with your new MIDI tools and with this photo mat thing, which looks really cool. And everybody, you saw I pinned the link and the code to get 20% off on Manifest Audio. So do that. Support Noah. He makes amazing stuff. And really glad that you were able to come back. So thanks again. And already someone in the chat was like, we want Noah to come back again. So we're going to do it again.
Yeah, awesome. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in.
Yes.
Thanks, John, for having me. And yeah, if you're interested in the tools, there's free stuff there to grab, and there's a link to the Discord. So go ahead and jump in there if you want to say hi.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's it. I'm about to just shut the stream off on Restream, because that's the only way I can get it to stop. OBS, I can't even hit stop streaming. This is nuts. Thanks once again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Despite the glitches, and yeah, we'll see you again next time. Hopefully, with if we're going to look like Max Headroom, we want it to happen on purpose, not by accident. So, all right, Indeed. Have a good one. See ya.
Bye.